The country was on the move and on the make. The river teemed with poor migrants, rednecks, who got their name from the way their necks were burnt by the sun as they bent to work in the fields. Because they couldn't afford the steamboat fare, they travelled on rafts, which they steered with oars called riffs, so they were known as the riffraff. On board boats like this one, richer travellers were in turn regarded as highfalutin because of the high fluted smokestacks that carried soot and cinders well away from those passengers, and also perhaps because of the stovepipe hats those dudes wore. They bestrode the Texas deck, the biggest on the boat.
Ready to play? Gentlemen, this is 5-card stud.
Gambling was a favourite activity among the riverboat passengers. Pass the buck and the buck stops here both come from such card games. The buck was a buckhorn-handled knife passed round to show who was dealing. And they're just the start of the phrases that American gamblers gave to the language in the middle of the 19th century.
I'm assuming you have an ace, sir.
Deal became part of phrases like square deal, new deal, fair deal, raw deal.
Dealer will take 3.
Big deal, no big deal.
And raise it 3.
I'll raise your bid, you bet, put up or shut up, and I'll call your bluff were all first heard round the card table.
I'll call you.
You have an ace up your sleeve, so you up the ante. Someone throws in his hand, but you keep a poker face. Now the chips are down, but the cards are stacked against you. Someone plays a wild card and scoops the jackpot.
7s. There kings.
Nice.
Cheers. Gambling and drinking spread across the West, no surprise there. This was a very different frontier from the original one at Plymouth, and nothing added more slang words and phrases to the language than alcohol. Barroom and saloon both entered the language, soon followed by bartender and set 'em up. Measures like a snifter, a jigger and a finger all came from the bars of America. And bootlegging comes from the practice of hiding a flat bottle of whiskey in the leg of a boot to be sold illegally to the natives. And there were literally hundreds of terms for drunk. Even before the Revolution, Benjamin Franklin listed 229 of them, minted in America, including, he's casting up his accounts, his head is full of bees, he sees the bears, he's cherry merry, he's womble-cropped, he's halfway to Concord, he's ate a toad and a half for breakfast, he's grotable, he's globular, he's loose in the hills, he's intoxicated, he's juicy, he clips the King's English, he sees 2 moons, he's nip-topsical, he's oiled, he's like a rat in trouble, he's double-tongued, he's trammelled, he's got the Indian vapours, he's out of the way, he's very weary. Teetotal was another word that came into the language from the Irish settlers, along with speakeasy, shillelagh and smithereens, yes indeedy and no siree, and later of course came on the wagon. Westward expansion had long been the cause of land disputes between the settlers and the natives, and once they left the great rivers for the wagon routes like the Oregon and the Santa Fe trails, contact and often friction between migrants and Indians increased. Many of the Indian words that had already come into English reflected this antagonism. Scalp, a good old English noun, had become a far more threatening verb as early as 1693. Tomahawk was another early addition to the language. So were warpath, war whoop, war dance, and long knives, an Indian word for white man, and firewater, the term they gave to alcohol. Phrases like no can do or long time no see are literal translations from Indian languages. The word brave to describe Indian warriors was certainly inherited from the French, and buck, slang for $1, derives from buckskin, the standard unit of trade between Europeans and Indians. Conflict with the natives was just one of the hazards faced by the people who went west. Every one of them had an epic journey to tell of the hardships imposed by distance and the weather. Every one had carved a new life out of a landscape made on a scale unknown in Europe. They chose new American heroes for themselves, through whose stories they could distill their own experiences, and they chose them and told tales about them on a grand scale. The most famous of all straddled the gap between fact and fiction, Davy Crockett. He was, as we know from the song, born on a mountaintop in Tennessee. He was the son of a veteran of the Revolution. He became a congressman, famous for his plain speaking, and he died defending the Alamo in Texas in 1836. He was as American as they came, and he became a legend, the king of the wild frontier, the hero of a series of paper-bound books telling exaggerated stories about him. This fictionalized Crockett was the first great exponent of a style of speech as big as the country, called tall talk. When he opened his mouth, he made the forest shake.
These is times that come upon us like a whirlwind and an earthquake. They are come like a catamount at full jump. We are called upon to show our grit like a ball lightning against a pine log, to exterminate, mollify, and calumniate the foe. Pierce the heart of the enemy, cram his pesky carcass full of thunder and lightning like a stuffed sausage, and turtle him off with a red-hot poker. And while the stars of Uncle Sam and the stripes of his country wave triumphantly in the breeze, where is the craven, low-lived, chicken-bred, toad-hopping, red-mounted, bristle-headed mother son of ye who will not raise the beacon light of triumph, snouse the citadel of the aggressor, and squeeze ahead to liberty and glory?
Confidence bred ornate Baroque words, shebang, shindig, and slumgullion, kaflop, kabang, and kathump. An American need not simply leave hurriedly, he could absquatulate or skedaddle. He didn't just use something up, he exflunkitated it. The language was hunky-dory, rambunctious, splendiferous. Its vigour was in speech, and that habit of coming up with vivid verbal images has left us with many that figure in everyday talk.
It's not my funeral if you fly off the handle because you have a chip on your shoulder and an axe to grind. I won't sit on the fence and dodge the issue. I won't fizzle out. I won't crack up. No two ways about it. I'll knuckle down and make the fur fly. I'll go the whole hog and knock the spots out of you, and you'll be a goner. You'll kick the bucket. So face the music. You're barking up the wrong tree. You won't get the drop on me. I'm in cahoots with some people with the know-how. Keep a stiff upper lip and have the horse sense to pull up stakes, okay?